Hello traders, welcome to Market Edge, ahead of the trade.
Weekly charts on the left, daily charts on the right. And you can always see the name up here. This is the Energy Bull, Direxion Energy Bull. And what does it tell us? Well, on the daily chart, you can see it's below the falling 50-day. Another very important investing maxim. The air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. You can see it rallied right up to the falling 50-day and fell right off of it. That's a good lesson to remember right there. So at this time, what does that tell us with energy? Be a little careful with energy stocks. Let's move on. Dow Jones Internet. Now, this one's above the moving averages, and it's basing nicely right here, forming a little low-level cup with a handle, and you can see the cup with a handle formation here. It needs to take out these tops across here. But what does it tell us? It tells us that Internet is an area to look into. It's showing some strength. Internet stocks. Continue onwards. IBD 50s hanging in there okay on the daily. Lots of overhead supply on the weekly, though, and severe selling on the weekly. Look at that selling volume, all right? Best thing this could do is form a handle up here in some way, shape, or form, face out, and then lift off again. There we go. It is showing some strength, but again, there's a lot of overhead supply in the market there. Just something to be aware of. Continue onward. Gold miners. I like this base that's forming on the weekly. And here you go on the daily, and I'll clean this up a little bit just to show you. Also, important lesson, it doesn't need to be perfectly flat or perfectly touch every high to the penny, but you can see there's a cluster, 3 spots there where it rallied up, then it gapped through it, rallied up and paused, rallied up, and it's stopping right there. What could be a potential entry on this? GDX, and it also says, look into gold miners, there's a clean base there. Good volume came into it here. It needs to push through this top with volume, but also note on the weekly there has been some distribution. I'm not being negative, I'm just reporting what is. There we go. We're very pragmatic and mission winners. We don't impose our will on what we think should happen. We let price and volume in the chart tell us what to do. So we move on to gold. Now look at this. Here's the gold miners. There's gold miners hanging into that line, and there's gold. About the same spot, same kind of pattern right here. Picking up a little bit, something to watch going forward on GLD. No clean entry at this point in time, but a little accumulation is coming into it. So something worth watching going forward. Continue onward. Cybersecurity's hanging in here okay too. Hack. What do we do there? Maybe looking at some cybersecurity stocks. This has a low-level cup and then a small handle here. What does it need to do? For a trigger to buy, take out that line with volume and a good market. Those constraints must be met. There we go. Biotech's kind of lagging. I mean, look at this. There's cybersecurity, hack near highs. That doesn't look so good. What does that say? Stay away from biotech. Done. Online retail's formed a deep cup here, forming a handle. Needs to base out here a little bit more. No real clean entry on it at this point in time. Continue onwards. Software technology has formed a deep cup with a handle right here. A lot of them have. That's just indicative of what the market did. Forming a handle right here. Something to watch going forward. Is there a clean trigger at this point in time? No, but it does say that software is improving a little bit. Let's move on. Medicine rallied up, and they sold it down pretty hard here on the weekly, on a slight pickup in volume, and on the daily. Needs to base out here. There's no real clean entry on it at this time. There we go. Midcap, iShares Midcap. Kind of basing out here, but not a real clean entry yet, okay? Nothing like this. That was pretty simple there, but right here, V-shaped, be careful with that. But it could turn this week, and it's something to watch. I look at the ETFs every day. I scan them every day to see what's going on. And I'll do this with our VIPs too. Aerospace and defense has had a decent run. You could probably say, gosh, I wonder what's in aerospace and defense. I'm not sure, but I think one of them, I won't look at it here. I think Boeing might be part of this. Look at the move there. Look at the nice trend. This is the 8-period exponential moving average, as I cited before. Look at the trend up the 8. That's nice. Folks, I will tell you something. Trends pay more than all the decisions you'll make. Find good things and ride trends. It will really help you, I promise. No day trading either. U.S. home construction, I mean, do a compare and contrast. Well, that's kind of trending up. Now, that ain't doing nothing. Stay away from home construction for right now. Here we go. S&P 500 growth, basing here, forming a cup with a handle. Here's the, I'll frame this up for you a little bit. There's the weekly. And you can see right in this realm here is where the daily action is. Kind of forming a cup and a handle here. A little bit of selling volume here, a little bit of selling volume here. But you can see, again, up, handle. One slight negative is there was serious selling volume here. So be a little cautious with that, okay? S&P 500 growth. We need to see this lift through these tops, folks. That's the bottom line, okay? There we go. And we don't impose our will on the stocks. Here's another simple base. Draw these just to show you. There you go. Just going sideways, forming a cup with a handle. Take out this top. That might be good for small cap. This might be a good buy, but it needs to push through that line with volume. But also look into some small cap stocks. How about that? Real estate's kind of lagging, no real power there, leave it alone. Transport's kind of lagging and kind of leave it alone at this time. Airlines is just maybe a cup and a handle in here. Okay, you can kind of see it across these tops. I'll draw this to help you. What's it need to do? Take out that line with real volume. A lot of overhead supply in here, though. Look at that. Tons of overhead supply. So be aware of that in that group. Banking, lifted up here, backed off. A little choppy. A lot of them are like that right now. And that's okay. It'll change. Insurance, a little sloppy. Be cautious with insurance. Regional banking rallied up. This is why, here's a great lesson. This is why you've got to be careful chasing gap ups. In fact, I'm going to show you a really important lesson. Look, I'll enlarge this to show you. Oh, it's a gap up. Look, that's great. Look at where it opened, rallies up, and look at where it closed. It closed below where it opened. It was met with selling pressure, right? Charts talk. We just listen. We just listen with an objective mind. And it's dropped since then. Tells us be a little cautious. I'll shrink that back to here. And let's continue onwards. Oh, another key point. Don't shrink your charts up. Don't tighten them up so much you can't see stuff. Find a space that is good to make good investing decisions, and you can discern the power or the weakness in the charts in price and volume. There you go. Mid cap rallied up, backed off. You can see that in a lot of areas. Stuff's lifted up some, but it's backed off, and almost all of them. Just tells us the market's still in a little bit of a tentative action. That's all. Not being negative, not being bearish. Tells us to be a little cautious. And emission winners, we have been. We're not going crazy here. Oil services, look at that. Look at the downtrend on the weekly and the daily. We haven't been involved in oil service stocks for a long time. Okay, maybe back here, back in July of last year, July, August of last year. Since this, it's in a downtrend. Look at the weekly. Stay away from it. And we have. Thankfully. Pharmaceuticals is a little sloppy here. Kind of whipping around, as you can see. And it's a little sloppier here on the daily. Needs to push through the 50-day. That's the green moving average. Push through the 50-day with real volume. Until then, be a little careful with drugs. How about that? Just say no. Okay, here we go. QLD, NASDAQ 100. Forms kind of a cup and a handle here. And I'll show you on the daily. Go across these tops here. I'll draw this to help you. There you go. Cross that, and that's close enough. Cross this top. It's formed a big cup, and maybe it's forming a handle here. What's the best thing to do? Take out these tops with volume. There you go. And until then, it tells us something important. Don't be aggressive buying here. And we haven't been. Let's move on. QQQ, same thing as QLD, as you know. Leverage to non-leverage. Retail runs up and then it gaps down and gaps down again. What does that tell? Lack of conviction in the markets and in a lot of areas. I mean, look at what's going up. What else, as far as conviction is concerned, you could say, well, it gapped up there on good volume, Pat, but overall, there's not a lot of buying power. You can see it in the volume. You don't see a lot of buying pressure in this sector. says be a little cautious with retail and the individual ETF, RTH. Continue. Cloud Computing's maybe forming a cup with a handle right here. You can see this form something on the daily, on the weekly, and I'll draw it on the weekly to help you. And it doesn't need to be perfectly horizontal. It's a cup with a handle. Rallied up on good volume, forms this handle on less volume. So what does it need to do? Take out this line here, and it needs to do it with volume, SKYI, something to watch. Or the individual stocks in that group, something to look into. Continue onward. Silver's picking up a little bit. You can see the space across here. I'll draw it to help you. SLV, something to watch going forward. And again, you can see these clean tops here. Look, but this is what's interesting. It rallies up, and the next day it rallies up, and then it drops. Rallies up, and then it drops. Rallies up. Needs to push through that top with volume. You see these fast drops here? It tells us there's sellers up there. We need to get through that. And how can you know? How will we know? Good price action with good volume on silver. Steel, a little sloppier still, but kind of a cup and a handle here. A little sloppier. Lots of overhead supply on it too, okay? Be aware of that, okay? SMH, forming a cup. You can see it right here. I'll draw this to help you. Kind of a cup forming right there. And you can see it. I'll draw this. I'll tighten this up just a bit. You can see it through here, a little bit higher handle, but there is a cup across here. And again, fell, rallies up to the old line here, pauses, push through that line with volume. That's something maybe to look into, SMH. Until it does, it says be careful with the ETF and be careful with the industry group. There you go. Let's move on. Here we go. Semiconductors, the Direxion semiconductor ETF, similar situation. Spiders, make that out here bigger for you. Forming a cup with a handle right here. There you go. Take that out. It needs to take it out. That base, this top, with volume until it does, team. And this is for everybody. Be a little cautious. That helps us. I mean, oh, we always got to be doing something. Yeah, we always have to be practicing good investing tactics and disciplines. Wait for your pitch. I love it. SSO, same situation. You can see these tops across here. I'll draw it as a service for you. There you go. Doesn't look too bad, does it? SSO, something to watch going forward. Take out that line with volume. That's what we need. That's also a very good trigger, not just the S&P 500, not just for the individual ETF, but for the markets as a whole. We're about done here. Solar, look at this. Ooh, it goes up. But notice it lifted up on heavy volume, and then it starts going up on a big drop off in volume. And then it gaps down on a big pickup in volume. It's telling you, hey, you better be careful. Oh, look, it lifts up. There's no buying. Look at that bar. There's no buying on it. There's no power. Drops again, right here, on a slight pickup in volume versus the buying volume, right there on that bar. And then they spank it. And that's stuff to avoid. By the way, the reason we do these things is to teach what to look for in the charts. Many people don't even know what to look for. We teach it every day, all day, what to do, what to look for. Make better investing decisions, make more money, and be safer too. Small cap still lagging here, as you can see. I mean, you can really see it on the weekly. I'd like to see a little bit more power there, okay? Continue onward. Oil's lagging. Be careful with oil. Aerospace and defense is picking up a little bit. Had a small base right here. Lifted up. That's nice to see. Is there a really clean entry at this point in time? Possibly. It would be very aggressive, bouncing off the rising 8 EMA. But I will tell you, that would be an aggressive entry. Just pointing that out for you. And again, we're about done. We're in the end of the alphabet. Biotechnology, stay away. I mean, look at the weekly. There's nothing there. Just tell it to leave it alone. Done. Move on to the next one. We don't have to overthink it. Home builders run up. You get a big tail bar on the weekly, they slap it right back down again. Same thing's true here. Look at the selling volume. What does that say? It's in a downtrend. Stay away from home building stocks. Done. Materials. How do you build houses with materials? Kind of related, correct? It's just not a lot of power there. A little bit better. You can see the space across here, and I'm going to change this out and show you so that we're all tracking together. There you go. Go across these tops right here on XLV. But please note, it's V-shaped. It fell on heavy volume, and it rallied back up on dramatically less buying volume than selling volume. Not a lot of power there. Be aware of it. And you can also see there was some selling coming in here. Nice reversal bar there, okay? But again, volume has really dropped off. Clean base there. Something maybe to watch. Take out these tops here at around 85.60 on XLB. And I'll write that down too and have that on my ETF page. We're about done. Let's move on. Here we go. Communications kind of forming a cup with a handle right here. Doesn't look too bad. It's trending up nice. XLC. You can punch up XLC, top 10 holdings, and you may find some opportunities there. That's what we do in Mission Winners. It works. Systemization. Energy. There's no power there. Leave it alone. That's a bad pun, isn't it? But dad humor. There we go. Financials picking up a little bit, okay? Lifted up, and they fell right back into the base. Needs to push up here with volume. There we go. Until it does, be careful. Industrials doesn't look too bad. See that? We like that. Continue onwards. XLK. You can see right here, I'll draw this for you to help you. And again, we teach this. And I did this in IBD meetups too, but we primarily held on to the stocks. We didn't talk too much about the ETFs. But you can see this base right here. The one negative, it's V-shaped, okay? And here, this is not an opinion. This is a fact. V-shaped bases are more aggressive, more failure prone than other setups. Something just to be aware of. But it is forming a little handle right here on the weekly and the daily. It needs to take out these tops, and it needs to take it out with volume. You can see this top across here. I'll draw this to help you. We'll tighten this up just a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Right across in here. Big, deep cup. That's a deep cup, folks. Forming a handle here. Needs to take this out. What else does it tell us? Oh, maybe look into some technology stocks. There you go. We do that. This is a little sloppy here. I mean, look at the daily, but look at the weekly. Look at that. It looks like, you know, somebody took new noodles out of a bag and broke them in half and threw it on the floor. Okay, spaghetti. It's just chopping back and forth. Be careful with this. You know what it tells us? Lack of investor conviction. Oh, it's going up. Oh, they take it down. Oh, it's going up. They take it down. And again, oh, look right here. Oh, it's going up. Gaps down. Goes up. Reverses down. Goes up. Gaps down. Be careful with that. There's a big lesson right there for you. There you go. We're about done. Utilities picking up, and it faded a bit at the close here on the weekly. XLV, healthcare. They need healthcare. There's nothing good with healthcare. What does that say? At this point in time, stay away from healthcare stocks. That's simple. Maybe it's going to bottom. We don't play the matey game. We look for stuff that's showing strength already and get in line with it. Look for a spot to get in line. Love that. Continue onward. Computer discretionary, big gap up. There was news on a stock. You kind of see it's formed a handle right here on the weekly. Draw this to help. Or a base, I should say. And here is the daily. There it is. Just forming a big cup with a handle. Consumer discretionary. Now here's something interesting. It's shown some power recently. Consumer discretionary. What is it? It's more of a defensive type of industry. Something to consider. A defensive industry showing strength. Tells us to be a little cautious with the markets, okay? Because this is a defensive sector. You know, there's a lot of things we don't need. We don't need many things, but we do need toothpaste and soap. There you go. Consumer discretionary, consumer stocks. Metals and mining, nice base forming right here on XME, something to watch going forward. And what catches your eye? Well, it's a nice base, first off, on the weekly and the daily. Also, good volume came into it. Look at that. Oh, by the way, metals and mining, metals. Oh gosh, what's another big metal? Yeah, gold. We talked about it earlier on this video. That's connecting the dots. There you go. Oil, not a lot of power in oil, leave it alone. Retail picking up, but pretty sloppy. Be careful with that. Software, it's okay. Needs to come across these tops across here, folks, with volume, with software. Be a little careful with software stocks.
Sometimes the market isn't sending a clear signal, and that's not a cue to trade more. It's a cue to slow down and tighten up. This week gave us a classic example. A failed bond auction spiked yields. Then the president's tariff threats landed on Apple and the EU. We saw a big gap down on Friday. That gap filled completely. But by the close, price faded and settled mid-range. That's not strength. It's not weakness. It's indecision. What we're dealing with right now is what I call technical limbo. When the indexes are stuck between the 8 and 21 exponential moving averages, you're in a stall zone. That's where momentum fades out and the market stops rewarding aggressive trades. It becomes a place where traders get chopped up trying to force something that just isn't ready yet. So how do you handle it? First, don't trade in isolation. If one index starts to lose support, but another is still holding its trend, that's a conflict. You want to see the major averages moving together before you start taking action. Mixed signals are a recipe for trouble. Second, watch the crossover. When the 8 EMA crosses below the 21, that can be the start of something bigger. But until it happens, there's no confirmation, just pressure building. You want to wait for resolution, not anticipate it. Third, keep your eye on gaps. There's still a large upside gap from last week that hasn't been fully filled. That doesn't mean it has to fill, it just means it's a reference point. If price starts moving away from it with conviction, that tells you more than trying to predict where it should go. And finally, this is when you go smaller, stay selective, and demand more from every setup. This isn't the time to take flyers or stretch. It's the time to observe, protect capital, and be ready when the next real move shows up. Technical limbo doesn't last forever, but the traders who stay focused, patient, and disciplined, they're the ones who catch the move when it matters.
Going to the max list stocks now. ETF to the max list. Apple. Big name stocks, folks. And you can see, though, you look at the weekly, it's in a downtrend. You look in the daily, it rallies up to the 50-day, hovers there a bit, and then it drops off of it. This is a very important fact. Not an opinion, fact. The air is better. The odds of success are better when you invest in stocks that are above a rising 50-day moving average line. That is a quantifiable statement, okay? You can say, well, you're getting fancy there. Yeah, I periodically taught advanced statistics on a university level. I had a final that was 24 pages tight. So yeah, we knew about the numbers. So we want to see that happen, okay? We need to see some power. Until there is power, just be a little cautious with this, okay? Amazon started to lift up right here and then backed off. Check this out, by the way. You see the high on this bar and the high on this bar? I'll draw this to help you, just to show you. Institutions, people pay attention to this stuff, folks. There you go. Darn near the same price. It doesn't need to be to the penny, okay? But pretty close. Rallies right up. Also note, what is this bar here? Big reversal bar. Gaps up, runs up, reverses down on the weekly on a pickup in volume. So what does this tell us? Well, it needs to push through here, okay? And I'll do something to help you too as a service. There's the line on the daily. There you go. It needs to push through here, possibly take out the highs here. Could be a cheater buy, okay, on Amazon, and then lift off. So that's something to watch. What does it need to do? Again, I'm going to be very specific. Take out the highs of this bar, and it needs to, I'm really going to be precise here, folks. Say this again. Take out the highs of this bar with good price action and good volume action and good market action. Those constraints must be met. If they are, it could be a potential buy through that top. Now, that would be an aggressive buy. How could we control risk? If we buy less shares, and that helps us. There you go. Excuse me, let's continue onwards here. Amazon, this is the direct symbol. Similar situation. I like the stock better, okay? Continue onward. Baba, a little choppy here, okay? Here's a good lesson for you. Oh, look, it gapped up. Yeah, volume picked up, but it really wasn't that heavy. Look, and then it falls and it gaps up again. There's not volume there, and they slap it right back down. Tells you, be cautious. There you go. With Alibaba, be cautious with it for now. BIDU, same situation. They had earnings. Look what this does. Gaps up, runs up, reverses down on heavy volume. Be careful with that. Also, this is a very important investing maxim. Your odds of making money are better, or potential for making money, if you buy stocks that are exhibiting strength that are near 52-week highs. Well, look at the overhead supply on this. I mean, that's awful. Also, do you see how whippy this is? Runs up and drops like a rock, and here and here. That indicates high investor emotions. Be careful with that. Folks, I'll say it again. High investor emotions and good decision making are mutually exclusive. In fact, I'll take it a step further for you outside of the investing realm. High emotions and good decision making are mutually exclusive. Okay? If you're all wired up, if we're all wired up, it clouds our thinking and judgment. Yeah, and I've got a background in that, so, study research. Here we go. Let's move on. Goldman Sachs, forming a pretty decent cup and a handle right through here. I'll draw this to help you. Needs to take this out. The other nice thing is on this bottom bar, the up volume was heavier than any of the selling volume bars. Cup and a handle formation, something to watch going forward. And we can narrow it down even more on the weekly right here to show you. There you go. Take that out. Take out these tops. Take them out with volume. That's what we look for. Cup with a handle. And again, what is that? GS, MAXLIST top. But I do stress, it's going to need good price action. It's going to need good volume action. It's going to need a good market. There we go. The M admission winners, like I said, comes first for a reason. Let's move on. Google rallies up and reverses right back down. Kind of a poster child for the market. And what does it tell you? What did it tell us? Be cautious here. We had bought this, and when it did start to do this, we took it out. We don't want any problems. Okay? By the way, I don't day trade. I'm not a scalper. I'm not an in and out guy. I'm simply an individual that lets price combined with volume tell me what to do. And look what it does here. It gaps up, it runs up, starts to fall. Got to be cautious. There we go. There's nothing to do with it at this point in time. We just have to watch it going forward. Let's move on. MasterCard starts to break out, comes back into the base. Poster child for what the market's doing. Till it shows some power, you got to be cautious with MasterCard. Meta is basing here. There's a low-level base here. This was good to us back here. In fact, right there, it was real good to us. This part here is, I'm showing this not to brag. Golly, I don't do that. But just to show you, train our eyes. Oh, look, there's a pretty simple flat base there, Pat. Yeah, look at the volume coming into it. Low volume, increasing volume, increasing volume. They were buying it. We were too, through here. There you go. And on the weekly, same situation. Master that setup and things get better. There, and now, right now, here, I updated this now. It's base, it lifted up, and now it's basing. Something to watch going forward. What would we like to see? Let's have a game plan here. Well, I've already got an alert set. Notice, this is not a stop. It's an alert. You can say, well, you've got it set early. Set your price alerts early. This is a really valuable lesson. Do not set your price alerts at the pivot. It'll hit it. It might go through there so fast, you don't have time to make a decision. If you set your price alert early, just a little early, you can watch the stock as it approaches the pivot and make better investing decisions without being stressed or harried. Okay? There we go. Meta, something to watch go forward. But it's going to need a good market too. The M admission winners, good market. Continue onwards. Microsoft, poster child for the market. Rallies up and tails off. I like this longer base across here, by the way. You see this? I'd like this to take this out, but what will it need? Well, you know what it's going to need. Good market. I'd love it if it would base and then form that, and then we take off. Let's continue onward, shall we? Netflix. Look at the low-level base here on the weekly and the low-level base here on the daily. There you go. Look at the volume coming into it. There you go. Do you always buy one full position at one time? No, we eased into it. And in a pretty crummy market, that's good money. There it is. Max list stock. Simple base on the weekly too. And look at the volume on the weekly. Watch this. Right there. Look at the volume spike. People talk with their mouths and vote with their pocketbooks. Folks, they voted. There you go. We voted too. We bought it. There we go. So, by the way, we're in good shape. We've sold some into strength. Don't buy it up here. It's too extended, okay? Very important lesson for everybody. Buy close to the pivot or don't buy at all. That'll really help you, folks. I'm speaking from my heart. I've been doing this a long time. And the reason we started Mission Winners is to help people, show people what to look for, fundamentally and technically, to make better investing decisions and be safer too. NVDA, we own this down here. A couple of buys, simple base buy. Look at the volume pickup on that bar. Boom, boom. And it's working. If this continues, you know what we'll do? And if the market's okay, we'll buy more. But until it happens, we sit tight with what we have. We're in great shape. There you go. Continue NVDL, derivative of that same situation. Tesla, entry down here. Watch this. Look at that base. You know what I call that? Just sweet potato pie. Look at the breakout and look at the volume pickup on that bar. And just, it's vanilla. We bought it. We're in good shape with it. By the way, I'm not bragging. Please, golly, no. I just get excited about this stuff. I'm like a kid in a dang candy store. Here we go. I'm like an adult in a candy store. What the heck? Anyway, basin right here. Forming a handle right here, as you can see on the daily. What does it need to do? Take out these tops. I've already got a price alert set. I'll drop it down a bit. And it's also, notice, support on the rising ADMA. Take this out, folks, with volume. That would be good. Something to watch. Let's move on. Make that bigger again. TSLL, same situation, same kind of pattern. Pretty close. There's Tesla. There's TSLL. Same situation. Derivative, you could buy this. It's cheaper than Tesla. And, you know, it's the same pattern to make money. But remember, we need a good market on all instances and good price and volume action on the stock. There we go on TSLL. I'll write that one down too. By the way, again, it's a 3-day weekend. Enjoy it, and we remember what it's for. Visa rallied up, faded back off, like a lot of stocks have done recently. By the way, it's going to change, folks. The market's a little sloppy right now. I said this for years at IBD meetups when things were sloppy. On the stage, I would say, bull markets have not been outlawed, okay? We'll find opportunities. That's what we do.
That wraps up today's episode. Huge thanks to Pat Walker for another deep dive and to all of you for tuning in. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to Mission Winners on YouTube, check out missionwinners.com, and stay sharp out there. Master your strategy, trust the process, and maintain your edge.
I am here in the middle of nowhere. There is no there, it is cold there, but I am safe and I am